Uh-oh, we did it again. Uh, yes, it's a late start, and it was a rough night. I'm gonna hang up my coat. I'll take you over here with me to hang up my coat, as we always do. Last night was a basketball game for the House and the Senate, and oh, let me tell you, I was tired. I started my morning a little bit later than usual, which is okay, right? We can live with that. Good morning, good morning. And I know we're on the tail end of everything, so I promise I'm not gonna take up all of the days. But let me wipe this screen because here I go again, putting phones in and out of pocket. We want you to be able to see. Uh-oh, that was us. Much better. Good Morgan, right? Good morning. It's so good to see you this morning. I genuinely just walked in after taking several phone calls. Like I said, last night we had a basketball game between the House and the Senate. I played. My body reminded me that you're not a little girl no more. You can stretch as much as you want to. That ain't gonna make no difference. No, never mind. So the governor played lobbyist, and we beat the Senate. I mean, it was only natural. I had to remind them their average age was in the 60s. So I don't know what to tell you. But it was a great time. We every year there's a charity basketball game for the Massey Center for Cancer over at Virginia Commonwealth University. So we have VCU, which is like right here in the Richmond area, and we raised over $50,000 for the Institute for the Massey Center, which is beautiful. Oh, I didn't slam dunk on nobody, but I was reminded that I'm quick. That just may be my age, Denise. But it was a good time, and I think we should look for more opportunities to raise money in a way that brings folks together, even if it's temporary, because there's so many reasons for us to be separate on things, but also even more reasons for us to let loose and have a good time together. So I enjoyed myself. And I was moving in slow motion this morning, and I said, grant yourself some grace, and we're going to start 15 minutes late. Some of the biggest things, like on our yesterday was what we call budget day, right? Which was it was revenue day. So not budget. You know, I told y'all like a while ago we did the budget and stuff. Well, yesterday was revenue day, and it was like where our budget went over to to the Senate, and the Senate went over to the Senate, and the Senate's like, yo, we do not agree, or we disagree, and we went back and forth. So not only was it a heavy basketball day, it was a late day on the floor. I don't think we left till 6 yesterday. So we started early. We started at 11, and we didn't really leave until 6, but it was back and forth, right? So they would come back and be like, we don't like that. And we'd be like, well, we don't accept we don't accept your your offer. Take it back. And then they come back. I will actually post a video where and then we were doing bills and stuff with a Senate amendment. So the Senate, they're hearing our bills, right? And I told you guys about that. They're hearing our bills, and now they're coming to their floor for those different readings that we talked about. And if you're like, Jackie, I don't know what you're talking about, it's okay. When we get back, we're going to do whole classes on like what this is all about. So the Senate makes changes to our bills, and we get to come back and be like, hey, I got a bill. The Senate wants to amend it, which means change it in this way, and I can ask my colleagues to accept or deny it. And so for my bill, they made a change that I liked, but if I had accepted it, it would have got killed. So I had to say, hey, I want you to reject the Senate amendment. So everybody votes no to reject it. And then my bill goes into what we call a conference. And so the conference is where like a couple senators and a couple delegates get in a room. They talk about the bill. They're like, okay, how do we find a happy medium? So my bill will go into conference just like our budget will go into conference. So the budget yesterday, or the revenue bills yesterday, we didn't agree with what the Senate said. We were like, They're like, we are $3 billion apart on, on this budget. So we've got to come to a happy medium. And there are people specifically assigned to go to conference. It's like, yo, I'm going to pick my best ride or dies that I think can politic this in the best way. And I'm going to send them to go talk to the people on the other side, the Jets and the Sharks, and we're going to work it out. So that's what's happening with our bills. We're sort of pulling it together. Terrence says, I just showed my film, The Black Walnut, on the African prostate cancer disparity for VCU Massey Center. Yes, Terrence. Yes. I would love to see it. I mean, I lost my father to cancer transitioning. So Terrence is talking about the game last night was a charity event for the VCU Massey Cancer Center. I lost my father at the age of I was 19, but I became a caregiver to my father when I was about 17 as he was living alone with cancer. And I think, it is really hard. It is really hard being a caregiver, but it was a time where he was, treatments for cancer were not where they are now. That was almost 20 years ago that my father has passed. Wow. Yeah, almost 20 years. But the treatments, we've advanced so much, and dealing, and I when I say dealing with him, I mean it in a very loving way. The treatment that he was getting, it made him very, very mean, very angry, very weak. It was a hard time, and as a 17-year-old, I look back and think, like, what were you doing? What were you doing? Like, how the heck did I become a caregiver? It was a thing. But I would love to hear more about that, because cancer, specifically prostate, there is a huge disparity in African Americans in treatment with cancer. And you'll be really excited to know that one of the leader of the Massey Center program, it's a black guy, and he is phenomenal. He is like, yeah, you know how you feel if you're a science nerd like me, okay? And I like Neil Tice deGrasse, and he gives me that vibe. Like, he's just such, like, I'm excited about what I do. I'm a nerd, but also, like, I'm chill. I'm super chill, and I can have a conversation. But it was really great. So that's a whole thing. And then Hampton University is doing some great things with Proton. So we've got some good stuff happening here in the Commonwealth around cancer research, and that's good, because from what I heard, remember, I'm a come here, not a from here, but this is my chosen hometown and my home state. That it was a lot of that years ago, folks had to leave the state in order to get really good care. Yeah, Terrence, I learned a lot. I learned a lot. I don't smoke. I try to take care of myself better than my dad, because I want to be around for my kids, Okay, so basketball last night. Whole deal. Governor's team beat the lobbyists on a last J. What was really interesting about the game last night is, some of the cabinet members were in the audience. And that's important, not important, but it was a thought process to me, because on Tuesday, remember I told you guys I had a committee meeting. I was going to privilege and elections. I'm on the elections. I'm on the subcommittee for elections and things. And at that meeting on Tuesday that I left you guys to go to, we voted on the cabinet appointments. And so the Senate did their part and picked through and all that good stuff. And we did our part. I told you guys about that. And then we have to vote on them. Even though as we're selecting and saying, no, we ain't going to vote on this person. There's only one person that we didn't vote on, which was Wheeler, which many people know, worked for Trump, EPA. There was a lot of sort of back and forth about Wheeler, but we didn't vote on him. So he's the one person. All the cabinet members are considered designees until they're not secretary of this, secretary of this, secretary of this. Even though they get called that in name, they're not secretary nothing until they're designees. So they'll say the designee for the department, for Secretary, Department of Education, or whatever that is, designee for secretary. But we voted on them in the subcommittee on Tuesday, and then yesterday they came to the floor and we voted on them as well. And you may remember when we first started talking about these appointments, they're super important because these are the people that will lead the agencies. So just like we saw this past week where the designee for the, not designee, but the governor has appointed the Department of Education to do certain things, right? Like whether you agree with them or not, they are removing equity. I don't agree with them. They're removing equity. They're really digging in on what's going to happen with education over the next several years. When we first pulled Wheeler, remember we said there's one guy that we did not vote on. He's not nowhere on the ballot. I mean, not on the ballot, nowhere on the bill or to approve him. There was retaliation. So when we didn't appoint on our side, I think the House did. It was like, all right, well, then we're gonna pull some of your people from these boards, commissions, and stuff, these state level boards. So as we were going through these boards, right, because you guys know your localities have boards, commissions, and authorities, and so do the state. The state has boards, commissions, and authorities. I see you guys' questions, and I promise I'm gonna get to them. Conrad and Chioma, I see them coming in. When they appoint these boards at the state level, the governor gets to select the appointees, but we have to vote on them. So what happened was when Wheeler didn't get appointed, they pulled all of these designees from boards and chose not to vote on them and chose to pull them out. And there was a big stink because in the Department of Education, they pulled like all the black people off. Pretty much. It was like, what's happening here? But they pulled them and they did not appoint them. They also did not renew a person for the Commonwealth Commission. I can't remember. They did not approve them, right? And so that was a whole little spat, right? That was a spat. So here's what's about to happen. Wheeler is still around, right? I saw him at the game last night. We have until the end of session to either bring him back in or not. Like, that's a whole thing. You know what's coming up next week? It's either next week or this week. I have to check my calendar. Judges Day. That might even be today. We have Judges Day. If y'all don't know this, here, each delegation, each locality picks their judicial judges, right? Like we are picking judges that will go into the Norfolk's court systems like we are. They trust us to do that. Like the people that are elected officials in Norfolk say, all right, these are the people that we want to be judges in Norfolk. Like that's why elections are super important. I will give that shout out. Elections are super important. We are picking judges. And then the General Assembly is picking Supreme Court judges. So we've got judges to do that will happen in the Norfolk area that still need to be voted on. And then we have 2 Supreme Court positions that will need to be filled for the Commonwealth. So, and like I said, the budget is in negotiations, right? We're going to be going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So these are sort of like that. If somebody wanted to have a petty party, they could start doing some good or bad things. Good morning, Mom. Did some good or bad things with the judges, the Supreme Court appointments, and the budget. Like this is how people push and pull. And that's some real stuff. That's some real stuff. I see. I'm getting it. Yeah, yes, we will. Yes, we are going to do it. I promise you we're going to do a town hall. What's actually going to happen is right after session that Saturday, I'm going to have a district debrief. That's not going to be a town hall because I'm not going to be receiving a lot. I'm just going to be debriefing everything that happened during session. What I will do is we'll go back and have a town hall once. I'll take a week off, right? So once March 13th through I want to say the 19th, I will be away, right? Like I'll be like trying not to be the stranger in my house, like I told y'all, and then we'll come back at it. But we definitely would be doing a town hall on specific things because y'all, we're going to build bills as a community. Like that's a real thing. So let me go to some of the questions. Conrad, any election reform ideas you have at this time? Yes. It's coming. I know that it'll take, it's going to take a lot. I was told by a senator, if you have a good idea that actually makes sense, it's going to take you years to get it done. He said the things that make the most sense often take years to get done. So I have this radical idea with elections that 16-year-olds should vote in local elections. And I think this time has shown us more than anything that school boards have consequences, and that we're making decisions for people in a way that we need them to be a part of the process. Here's the issue I had. Here's why I believe that. At the age of 16, you can pay taxes, right? You get a job, you can pay taxes. You can get a license and be ticketed. You can be tried as an adult. We entrust you with all these different things, but not your vote or your opinion. So you can contribute to the economy. You can be incarcerated as an adult, right? You can operate a motorized vehicle, which is very serious, but you can't vote. That makes no sense. So one of my key things, I think, over the coming years is galvanizing about, we'll start with local elections, allowing 16-year-olds to work in local elections. And the bottom line is, it's like, we can talk about ages however we want to do it. We can say, oh, their parents will influence. Listen, have you met a 16-year-old? Like, I have a 15-year-old, and I do not have that much influence over what he does. I mean, I just am the giver of consequences, both positive and negative, for these decisions that they make. And I just think it'll be a great opportunity to get them involved in a meaningful way. They have been, like I said, the school board stuff has really, really set into me that we need people who are actually being affected by the system to help influence the system. And sometimes as adults, we let our feelings get in the way because we like talk education. And then we say, yeah, we want fun. And then we do these little incremental things inside the system, and the kids get to, the young adults get to feel the wrath of it, and don't necessarily have a say in a meaningful way. So I think what happens when we have to earn their vote. I do believe that I believe in ranked choice voting. I've said that. I will always say that. Ranked choice voting allows space. It takes some nastiness out of politics. So those are my two election reform ideas that I feel like are being held in my hands. Chioma says, what are your thoughts on lab schools? We've talked a little bit about lab schools, and for those of you guys don't know, like, lab schools are essentially laboratory schools. They were designed to provide particularly educators an environment where they can actually teach as a use a school environment that's almost like a lab in preparation for them to go off into the teaching workforce. I do not have an issue with lab schools per se. As I talked to the education community, they said this was really a good thing. Having these schools were really good. But I think the conversation in the Commonwealth about laboratory schools or lab schools are more around execution and funding, right? Who, what, and what oversight, and then where's that money going to come from? Ensuring that it does not take away from the already needing public education system that we have. And I have honest conversations about our public education system. We have not quantified equity in a way that means anything other than a buzzword, at least in our school systems. Like, we say it, but how we obtain it? And that's going to take having somebody who's in the business of qualifying and quantifying equity. Yeah, that's a whole position, right? So I hope that answered your question. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, and then, so Conrad asked about elections. I will tell you this. We just had a bill fail yesterday regarding campaign finance. I don't know if y'all know this, but campaign, we get contributions from the public. So if you've ever given to a candidate, they have to use a specific account that they take and put your money into. And we'd like to think that all that they're doing with that money is, buying, let me see if somebody's, hi, Sahir. We'd like to think that, did you want to join me, Sahir? Put it in the chat if you're trying to join in. I do not mind bringing people in to ask questions or talk if you want to come in. But let me talk to you a little bit about campaign finances. People use their campaign finances to pay for their mortgage. They use it for country club memberships, vacations, unrelated campaign stuff. Like, by law, they can do that, which is, I was going to say gnarly. That would have dated me, which is crazy in its own way. Like, it's wild. And so we've been trying to get campaign finance reform done. for quite a bit of time. Had the opportunity to do it last year. The Senate didn't go right, and then now this year the Senate passed it, and the House was like, nah, miss me with that. It was wild, and so I think it is going to take a lot of advocacy. We made a small step this year to where we can have our campaign finances audited, right? So they can audit our stuff. Yeah. I couldn't believe it either, Terrence. And Cliff, you ain't late. I started late. We ain't been here for about 15 minutes. So that's a big deal. How politicians use their money and us having the ability to look at not just, okay, here's who they pay, like really look at their stuff is important. So there's a small step on auditing, but the use is no bueno. It was something really ignorant, I felt like, was said by one of my colleagues. And I mean, I would say this to that person as well, that we talked about being able to use childcare for your, as an expense. Running for office is unlike anything that you do. Like, it's not like, oh, I have a 9 to 5 and I should be able to, like, it's crazy. And like, if we're going to get rid of the barriers to working parents, being a part of this process, we should allow for childcare, right? Like that is an expense that is like real. When I first ran for school board, I remember my daughter was 6 years old, 5 or 6 years old, and taking her to places, and I was just like distraught because it's late, and just like how much I had to alter it. And I would have loved to for them to just be at home and be in the bed, and I didn't want to take them to another civic league so they could sit there like this. You know, people looking at your kids like, do they want to be here? so she's like, well, if you, the delegate said, well, you should plan just like for anything. And if you want to run for office, then you should know that you should, if you got a job, then I was like, if you got a job, then you got to have childcare, then you got to plan for childcare like this. I was like, wow, what a privileged thing to say. What a real privilege, you know, the haves and the have-nots. But anyway, I'm going to bring in Sahir. Sahir, come on in. Let me see if I can bring you in. I'm just going to say what we do is we do take some tough votes. I was thinking about this morning, is like there are some hard votes. Yesterday, we voted to legalize switchblades. So here in the Commonwealth, pretty soon you will be able to have a switchblade. Today, one of the toughest votes I'm going to take is with regarding facial recognition. I have my I'm listening to both sides of the argument. You know, what I know about why facial recognition is so, well, let me go back to switchblades. Switchblades was tough because, like, you know, it's like, it's a switchblade. Like, what else you gonna do with a switchblade? Well, then, okay. But also, there's a disability side to this, is that when we have folks that need to be able to open a knife with one hand, you know, it was a lot. It's a lot, but I voted for it. I'm like, there are worse things that we can do. So hopefully if you want a switchblade, you might be able to buy one in the Commonwealth after November, after July 1st. Oh, actually, here I couldn't get you in. So if you give me the little thing to come in, I'll put you back in. The facial recognition bill, like, I'm still torn. I haven't decided how I'm going to vote. It came across our desk and I voted for it because I recognize oftentimes the private sector is is using products and industry, and then we come in on the back end and we're like Johnny come late, and that we have to sort of start somewhere. On the same token, when the government be buying stuff, they be being cheap, and then it's got to have update after update. If you're a military person and you know about NMCI, you're like, why are we still using NMCI? Like, so it's twofold. And also it's the racial bias of cameras, right? Like, that's a real thing. Canon cameras still, like, not just Canon, but like some of these high-tech cameras still can't photograph black skin in a way that makes sense, or darker skin. Like, it's still, right? That's still a thing. There's still bias in these sorts of things. So I'm holding that in my hand, but also recognizing that on January 6th, facial recognition is what was caught a lot of those folks caught. On top of that, facial recognition is being used in airports already, y'all. So it's being used. It's a push and pull. Do I vote no on this bill so that we can get it get it together better and make sure that we have that when we start this, we start from a great place? Or do I say we need to go ahead and get in on this? You know, those are tough boats. Those are really, really tough votes for me. And there have been tougher ones than that. But I just want to tell you what I recognize. I stood in Wawa the other day and I was looking around me and I'm like, yo, we making decisions that's going to affect everybody up in here. Like everybody, like, do not forget, this is real life stuff. Speaking of real life stuff, marijuana, right? I know I got some folks that are wondering what's going to happen with the word marijuana. Look, last session they voted that you can grow your own stuff at home, but you can't buy seeds, you can't farm it, and you can't sell it, right, until 2024, giving time to get all that other stuff right, which is really weird. It's like, where are you going to get your seeds to grow your own stuff from? So the bill that would have had, and we talked about this other day, that would have had sort of a opportunity for folks to get the market going, failed. I don't know what's going to happen at this point. We're probably going to be standing in the gap on that. And so stand by. As soon as I have more information, I will make sure that I share. But I do want to leave space for questions, comments, concerns, and I'm also going to check this little calendar while we sit. Hold on, to make sure I'm not missing anything. How about that Supreme Court nominee representation? Hello, I'm excited. Oh, today's judges, y'all. Today is judges. So we're going to be pretty much going through the Supreme Court justice. There are two states. Excuse my nose ring. There are going to be two Supreme Court justice appointed to the Supreme Court justice, and then I can't remember how many judicial judge appointments we have for the city of Norfolk. When I find out, I'll know. The reason why I'm like not in the know is because for Norfolk, what happens is before we go into session between like November and December, the delegation is having conversations about the judges that are the folks that could possibly become judges, and they're making decisions as a and I wasn't elected at that time, so I'm sort of on the back end of who they selected and all of that. Conrad says, I want the licenses to be front loaded for people personally hurt. Yeah. And that's a fact. And that's a whole deal. If you're going to do it right, is that disproportionately there are people who have been affected by the criminalization of marijuana. So when we talk about the decriminalization, those people should be at the forefront. And I agree with you on that, Conrad. Oh, Michael Preston, it may have been. So Terrence is asking, he's got to go. If the person at VACU Massive, you spoke about Michael Preston, I think so. He's a bigger, taller, he's not super tall, but he's a big in stature. Just seems like a very much so a gentle giant. So that may have been him. I'm not 100% sure. Last but not least, before I go, let me tell you this. We have to keep our eye on the ball because redistricting happened. It did. And what I know is that we have not spoken a lot about it because there's a court case. And let me backtrack. Redistricting, we talked about this a little bit before, is where we look at our new population and then we say, based off the way our new population is set up, we might want to make sure that our maps are fair and for equal representation, or side note, like our state maps were like gerrymandered as I'll get out. So they tried to make the maps whole. There was a big tussle, big back and forth. If you guys know that we voted on a constitutional amendment, I think in 2020, which started the work for 2021 based off of census data, because we do the census every 10 years. So it was a perfect time. We've got the new census data. That's why y'all need to make sure y'all turn in y'all census, okay? Because that's all about resources and representation and so much more. But our city is now a little bit more whole. I think we'll have one senator, right, which will be the 40th district. which is nice because right now we're broken up with two separate senators, right? There's two different senators, Linwood Lewis and Spruill, sorry, and Senator Spruill. They have districts um, in Norfolk, but the new map will have Norfolk whole, and we'll have the 40th district. And then delegate wise, I think there'll be 5 out of Norfolk. So there'll be 1 in the center that'll have like the Ballantyne, that's my area, and all the way up to Ward's Corner and over. There'll be 1 that'll have that whole strip over by at the top, the Willoughby Spit, Ocean View, East Ocean View, that goes across there. There'll be another that'll have the Ghent down to the South Side Berkeley area. Another that has more of that's 3, the military circle area. And maybe that's it. And that military circle area will have a piece of Virginia Beach or Chesapeake. I can't remember, but it's a little bit more whole, right? So what's happening right now is that there is a court case that says we want to make, because we have new maps, then all these people in the House and Senate and stuff, they need to rerun for office this year to make those maps whole. And that's it. It's like, if we got new maps, we need to get our representation on those new maps. We should run in 2023. And then that means we will have to run again in 2024, because senators run every 4 years, delegates run every 2 years, just so you know. But there's also a school of thought. It was like, hey, I got elected until 2023, so I should wait until 2023. 2020. Yeah, 2023. I almost forgot where we was at, y'all. 2023 to run. The court case will be decided, right? I think we should have just a decision on whether there's whether it has like credence, whether it's a valid case next week. So we'll sort of know next week. We'll know next week, and then we'll know whether or not we have to go back through the election cycle again, this is a part of the process. Kim said, I think our delegate Kim Taylor has to rerun. Yes, Chioma, you're running for office. Tell me what you're running for. I haven't been on Facebook, so don't kill me. Like, I get on to do this and this alone. And I'm grateful to have. Yeah, I think Kim Taylor was the one that said the comment about childcare, and it's like, we do have a lot of work to do with being able to see outside of ourselves and see outside of our district, because we are making decisions for the Commonwealth of the entire Commonwealth, and not considering what that looks like for us on whole. City Council, congratulations for running for City Council. Chioma goes hard in Petersburg, right, where you are needed more than ever. I want you guys to consider, if you're not a person that wants to run for, because it's a big, Chioma, you're taking on that's a huge deal. It's like nothing I've ever experienced before running for office. But there are so many other opportunities for you guys to get involved. 1, our policy work groups, this summer. 2, there are so many boards, commissions, and authorities that you all can be a part of. I'm telling you everything. I had a friend, she walks all the time, and I was like, sis, you should probably, we talked about, you should probably get on the bicycle and pedestrian commission. And she did, right? Like, it's making a difference, because our voices oftentimes are missing. The state level, no joke. These commissions are liaisoning and making some serious decisions. So like, I really want you guys to consider, what does it look like for me to do what I love in a meaningful, or do what I care about in a meaningful way? And even if that's not being involved on a board, commission, authority, or running for office, what we're doing right here, like engaging, being the person that's like, I'm gonna send that email real quick, because I think we should, just like Conrad said, you can say, look, delegate such and such, or councilwoman, or mayor such and such, we need to listen and amend in this way, or vote this way, whatever that looks like, we need you. policy board. Conrad asked about policy board work groups. So we have work groups on our website, the Delegate Jackie Glass site. We have space for people to come in and be a part of the policy work groups. What I've charged, I had a discussion with my staff yesterday, is that for the folks that have already signed up, we'll probably be sending you a letter. I don't want to misspeak. I think they'll be sending out information next week, just saying, hey, we know that you signed up. We are looking at meeting this day, or here's our timeline. Thank you for signing up, at least so that you got notification that we know that you want to be a part of the process. That's it. That's all. All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns? I'm looking at my list. The only other thing I have on my list are masks. I wanted to talk about, what's going on in Ukraine, but I'm going to let this this weekend sort of go by. This weekend sort of go by as I feel a high level of stress, especially with the cyber aspects of it. Thank you, Conrad. Shout out to the men and women's team or the NSU's last home game is tonight. Shout out to them. Hold on, I adjusted. Norview girls, and I want to say Maury boys, don't beat me up. Don't beat me up. I got a holding a lot in my hands. We've got a lot of state tournaments coming up, and last home. Y'all better get out to that last home game. Ain't nothing like a HBCU party. So get out there, y'all. So go ahead, Denise. But you are more than welcome to engage with us at any given time. I'm going to express gratitude for you guys spending this time with me this morning. All right. Yeah, Maury. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Janice. Maury. Last but not, yeah, actually, let me not even play. If you have someone, or if if the sports team did something amazing, you got a parent or family member turning 100 or anniversaries or somebody who you think is really freaking amazing, I need you to send that. I need you to reach out to our office at DELJ Glass at house.virginia.gov. That's Del as in delegate, J as in Jackie, Glass as in a glass of milk, Del J Glass at house, because I'm in the house, .virginia.gov. I think I said that backwards last time. House of Delegates.virginia.gov. We only have, I need that stuff by like Friday. We don't have a lot of time, but I do want to make sure we can educate, advocate, celebrate, because we're in the business of that. So I will see you guys on Tuesday. We have one more week left in Richmond, and then we're going to come on home and get her done. I hope that you guys are able to make it a great day. And love and policy. I did not start by saying it has been Jackie Glass, Mama, Navy vet, certified doer, and delegate, your laced up legislator, because we always be in our kicks, because we got to be ready, always ready, always ready. We got this, right? Oh, wow. Yep. Okay, so I'll hit on this before I go. I'd like to teach art. Cliff, make sure you respond to that text message to connect you to Bev, right? To respond to that text message. Yep. What's unfortunate right now is what Clinton's talking about here. And let me make sure I pull this up. Is you said you want to teach our kids art. Ukraine is shaping up to be what begins of the Third European Civil War. Treatment of Nigerian students attempted to flee is typical. We got to concentrate on people who love us. Yeah, anti-Blackness is real, y'all. And I laugh uncomfortably because as I was watching what was happening in the Ukraine and hearing the stories of Black folks being pushed off trains, denied the ability to cross the borders, and it just is like, the truth of the matter is anti-Blackness is not unique to the United States. It's just really dark here. The nature in which our policies and things, the nature in which our Constitution, and I'm talking about literal paper, and then our constitutions, which we are like the foundationally insidious nature, morphing nature of anti-blackness is so real. And so when I see people like me um, being denied the dignity, um, it just makes me think like, why? Sometimes I'm just like, why is it that across the globe people just don't like black folks? it, it it really boggles my mind, and it was a reminder to Clifton's point is that, you know, we have to concentrate, but it hurts my heart as a little chocolate drop. Okay, I'm sitting in this chocolate skin thinking about how there are people literally saying you cannot flee this country because you are black. No, y'all stay here. Y'all get off the train. Y'all stay here. You stay here and die possibly. You know what I mean? And it's though I am not living that experience, I am living in the skin, and it doesn't feel good. So I can say that I pray for those folks, but it's more than that. I hurt for them, and that does nothing for them. It does nothing, because you could see it in the faces. You can see there was a story, and I had to stop reading the stories, to be quite honest, y'all, because it just riles up something in me based off my lived experience with people being so anti-black. It riles up something in me that makes it hard to be in this place, right? It makes it really hard to be in this place because uh, there are a lot of spoken and unspoken truths here, right? I sit in a house, um, in a house, um, in a Capitol building, uh, that at a certain time I was not supposed to be here. And it's less about me and more about feeling. And Delegate Scott of Scott, yeah, Don Scott of Portsmouth said it, is that this place you can feel the ghosts. Like you can feel like it is the the sorry if I get upset, because it's real. You can feel the ghost of the people that were here. And I just, like he said, imagine some of them um being here and having to hear people talk about and make decisions around their very valid or invalid existence, and sit in this house, like to sit in this place. And so I sit there and I look at these people, this woman, like it's freezing cold at night at the border, and an African woman, and I'm just trying to get to safety like everybody else. I'm just trying to live. I'm just trying to have dignity like everybody else. But you say no because I'm black. I'm breathing. I got blood. I'm a human being. But no. So why? And that's what I find myself asking all the time. Why? Why you don't like us? Not that I would need you to like me, but why you don't like us so much? I think about that for women, and I think about that for black folks, because it's like, how great did we have to be for you to hate this much? For it to be a global a global ideology that anti-blackness is perfectly acceptable. Because, yeah. Cliff, thank you. I try to be tough. I do. I have my moments where I just stare at the walls and the wooden desk, and I, you know, walk around the Capitol, and I just see, and I'm just like, it does not leave me at any given point the fact that this place, I'm not in the Capitol right now, but that across the street is where Simon Says happened, right? What I mean by Simon Says is when
when Virginians said, hey, this is what we should do, and it was to continue, and it was along the lines of continuing the disenfranchisement, the lack of existence of Black folks. It happened here, right here. And everybody was like, yeah, Virginia, you got it. We're going to do that too. So while we are leaders, it does not fall deaf on me that we are leaders. As a Commonwealth, we are leaders. We have shaped this very, where we're at right now has shaped a huge part of this country because everyone had their eyes on us in the beginning. All the big homies was here, right? The big homies were here. Washington, Jefferson, right? Like they was here. Foundationally, the start of this right here. And so we pray for the folks in Nigeria, not in Nigeria, Scotty. You pray for those Nigerians. We pray for those Africans that are trying to flee Ukraine, but it does nothing for them. It does nothing. And I sit here in all of my privilege, and I'm grateful. And I'm grateful to serve. And will continue to show up not just as a Black face, but as a Black voice, not just as a woman, but in my woman voice, because there are those who lead in masculine energy. And I understand. I overstand, actually, being a woman who was in the military. I overstand that need or feeling of wanting to conform. However, I cannot. I just show up as myself. So you said it's predominantly a problem in the Northern Hemisphere. I see you. Hell, it had Robert E. Lee in that building for like a century. If I yeah, yeah, it's no joke. Yeah, the business and industry of slavery was perfected here. And you are absolutely right. It was perfected. I think that there's a whole, for one of my first floor speeches, I was going to talk about that. And I started really doing my homework on how we made sure that Black folks couldn't bear arms, how there was here in the Commonwealth, like they made it so like, hey, you cannot let these people bear arms, not even to hunt, not even for none of that. Then on top of that, they were like, what did they say? They codified this. You guys think when I say codify, I mean put it into law. Put it into the code that, hey, it doesn't matter if you're baptized, you are not free. A Negro people, right? Like baptism does not equate freedom. Like this is how it is real. It is so real, but it's in code, it's codified. And I told myself, do not do a speech like that, because there was enough of the back and forth. There's enough of that happens to where I need to come from a different place till I can mature in a mature way, say what needs to be said with my feelings and with my facts, because with these sorts of things, everyone's feelings is valid, but everybody's facts is just what is messing it up. But you'd be doing yes, I would be doing divisive concepts. Yep, that's real. And that's why that's so important, Conrad. And if you didn't check out Tuesday we talked a lot about the executive order number 1 and how history is the most controversial thing that we can teach, and it says we can't teach controversy, and that political indoctrination has no place in the classroom. This is coming straight from executive order number 1. But the one thing that we do on a daily basis that is political indoctrination is our Pledge of Allegiance, right? Like, I'm just saying. Yes, I get you. And Clifton, I get you. I hold on to my feelings though, right? That's what I mean by that. But I have to be in a mature place to be able to state the facts while not. That's why I said being mature for me is that I'm stating facts, right? Holding on to my feelings and not letting my feelings skew those facts or the presentation of those facts, because as we all know, right, and women and people and non-white people, I think, can attest to this, and not even just non-white people, it is a socioeconomic thing too, right? Like if you are not you don't have those checks in the box that make you the industry standard, right? You have to show up more prepared. You have to have it all together. Whereas those people that are the industry standard, which are typically wealthy white men, separate or equal. So non-wealthy people, non-white people, non-men people. We know that when we do things, that we have to show up in a way that gives them no space to pull what we're trying to do apart, because then she's just emotional. No, I'm not. Or they're just, they don't understand. They don't know how to make money. They don't understand how this works, right? Like, no. Or they just can't get it. They just, But anyway, okay, so I've done this too long, right? We done almost went an hour. And I do value and appreciate y'all coming here in the morning. Do not hesitate to drop me a line. Like I told you before, if there's something specific that you like me, if there's a bit like me to talk about, if there's a bill idea. Thank you for asking questions, Conrad. Good luck, Chioma, in your race. And I'll see you guys on the flip side, right? Like, we doing this? We're going to do this again? And as a reminder, next week is the last week of session. I will be off for 2 weeks. Not 2 weeks. I'll be off for 1 week. That's a lie. I will be off for 1 week. So I won't be doing lives. I won't be none of that. Okay. I will not be the stranger in my house for a week. Okay. That's what I'm going to try to do. And then we're going to get back at it. And so I appreciate your grace. I appreciate your presence. Make it a great day. You too, Janice. No worries. Random, we try to show up as we are. Can't do much else. See you.